All right, welcome everyone. Hope everyone's having a good day here. I am Brandon Steck. I'm Director of Marketing here at GiveSmart. We're really excited to have you today. We're sure, everyone with the trying times and everything going on is looking for a bit of, some happy and exciting things going on. So we've got some really exciting stuff to talk about today. With everything going on, we know every bit of information and research that you can do is going to benefit you as you go forward. And this is our 5th episode of the Pivot Success series. Hopefully you've been able to see the others. If you go to givesmart.com/pivotsuccess, you can see all the recordings that are there. But this really is inspiring as we think about what is in the art of the possible. So today's episode, we want to do something a little bit different. We got a panel with us today where we're going to be focusing on not just on one story. We're going to fly through at least 20 different, quick stories of organizations around the country who've made the pivot to online and virtual and made it well. They are stories of people doing the little things around fundraising and promotion and being creative and using technology to do so. So we're going to try and share as many as we can here and then answer questions at the end. With me today, we have Laura Barlow, one of our top customer success managers, who works directly with our organizations, getting them ready for success. We've got Steve Grenius, who's our Senior VP of Sales and Operations and really runs our customer side of the house. And then we've got Patrick Clore, who I know has been on a few of these now. And as you know, he's the head of customer insights. So Laura, Steve, and Patrick, thanks for joining today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to have some fun, but before we jump into that, just some housekeeping. We are going to be sharing resources throughout the webinar on the chat. If you miss it or you're unable to grab that link, we are going to send those out afterwards with the recording of this webinar. So that will be shared with you to pass along, as well as go back and take notes if we go too fast, because I'm going to talk fast, which is a habit. I've also asked the team to hang out a bit at the end for question and answer. The goal is to answer as many questions as possible, but if we don't get to yours, we will definitely respond afterwards. And feel free to drop questions right into the question section of the webinar. So without further adu, let's start out with our poll. We've done these on several of the webinars already, and while we are looking at the poll here, if everyone can fill that out. Steve, can you tell us, I know you have a story that kind of inspired you lately on an email that you got from I believe they're a customer.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share a quick nugget. I end up on a lot of email lists from all of our customers, or the text messages they send through our system, just by registering into events and whatnot. And this one just stuck out to me from one of our customers that was scheduled to have an event on May 2nd. It was the Children's Advocacy Center of Northwest Cook County. It's a local organization here in Chicago that helps, provide shelter and safe places for victims of child abuse. Long story short, I read the email, and it was, it really tailored the message to the times of today, which jumped out at me. It wasn't just, hey, we're not having our event, we need to raise money. It really talked about the work that their organization does, and what stuck out to me is connecting, the times that we're facing now, where children that need help and protection from an abusive situation, right now they're stuck at home with those abusers, and they kind of tied that into their mission and their message, in their ask for a donation to help. The donation was being asked for because they weren't going to be able to have their event on May 2nd, but they didn't want to stop fundraising. They didn't want to stop providing that protection, that safe place for the kids. And it just jumped out at me. I get messages from a lot of organizations all the time, but for some reason that message and the fact that the impact that all of your organizations are facing and the challenges that everyone's facing in fundraising right now, can't stop because everyone can't get together. And so that just kind of moved me. They said, I would have loved it if the link was using GiveSmart technology and sent, through our system, which could be done. It wasn't, but even despite that, the message resonated, and I think it hammers home the point that, everyone's mission is important. People need help now more than ever. And while I know it might be uncomfortable asking for people to fundraise, it shouldn't stop. Maybe the amount that gets raised might not be as much as we're used to or expecting, but every dollar counts. And so, like I said, tying that email communication really hit home to me with their message. So if anything I can encourage you guys through this phone call is, there's millions of ways to leverage the technology to do things, but just don't forget about your mission, because the mission doesn't end just because we can't all get together, we can't go outside.
Right.
Everyone needs help, and just think about how you can be creative in asking for that and helping your folks out.
Perfect. Yeah, and we're going to talk about creativity here, and let's just populate the poll. Laura, I'm very interested to see what your thoughts are. You talk to customers all the time. It looks like most people are starting to look forward here. We still have some people in the now what stage. Does that kind of resonate with what you're seeing right now, Laura?
Absolutely. Definitely customers are trying to find new and exciting ways to continue their fundraising in 2020 because it's so important to most of these organizations. So hopefully we can move that now what category down through this to show you that we can still do fundraising. Your mission's still important. So yeah, absolutely. This is what I'm seeing.
Awesome. Well, let's jump forward. Let's get into the meat of things here. All right. So when we look at what we're going to share, we're going to share stuff that is available on our different fundraising resources. But as you look here, pivot from live to virtual is our pivot success page. That is still active with a lot of different resources available there, as well as you'll be hearing a lot of examples that are part of our outside the room category, which is a new thing that we're starting to launch, and we're using that hashtag. It's a community that we're going to share a lot of resources and different ways to think outside of the room. Makes sense, right? Here are the 3 topics that we're going to go through. We're going to go through some virtual fundraising components. We're going to talk through the communication and engagement techniques that we're seeing, and we're going to have some inspiration moments, because I think that's important for everyone to have a chance to see some exciting things that really should make you excited to be a fundraiser and get you really going. I'm going to jump in now. Virtual fundraising components. So we've got a lot here. Like I said, we're going to go fast. First one. Come on, there we go. A wine poll. I'm going to throw this over to myself. I wanted to do this one. I got excited about it. We know at events, wine polls are one of the more common elements, and we see them all the time. And Laura, can you do a wine poll on a virtual platform?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You set it up as an instant item on your site and basically do the same thing. Sell as many wine bottles as you have. And you would just number those, number the purchases and do a random number generator. And, if you choose number 15, whoever has the 15th wine bottle, they get that mystery wine. And so, yeah, absolutely. You can still do this.
We had a story we did last week. They did a wine poll, and there's so much excitement around it. They actually sold more wine poll packages than they had wine bottles. They had the good problem of having to run to the liquor store to pick up some extra wine to send out to everyone. Hopefully everyone was able to see that story, but just one of those things where it's a good problem to have, right? Next item here, Steve, I'm going to toss this over to you here. Can you tell us a little bit about opportunity drawings?
Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of this. I mean, if you've seen the there's a lot of kind of public-facing raffles going on right now, where people are selling raffle tickets, or we call them opportunity drawings because it has to be even. But basically, if you have items, you can sell tickets, and you can run a raffle right through the software. So you might see this on larger scales across the country from a huge, if you guys have seen it, Fanatics is running a big raffle or opportunity drawing. It's not an auction, but a fundraising event. And so I think, if you think about your organization, how can you take that and boil it down to be a more local flavor? So you can definitely sell tickets if you have items or experiences. You can definitely do that through the site.
What's cool about that is you can practically raffle off anything, right? I mean, that's it can be something that's tied to your organization that doesn't actually have a tangible cost to you. And then what's nice about a raffle is it's a lower barrier to entry. We've talked about some other components where there are lower barriers of entry, so you're able to really bring in that younger donor, that new donor who isn't really, that bought in quite yet. Let them have a chance to win something, and make it at least something that they're giving you a little bit.
Yeah, and I think, Brandon, on this too, the other thing is we've seen, I think we might have some of the data, but I think we're seeing people are willing to give and donate and be interactive right now. The amount of dollars they might be willing to give might be shrinking, but you can attract volume with a raffle, right? So if the opportunity to have someone in a room and raise their paddle for $10,000 might not exist, but you also can have a larger number of people participate in this at smaller dollar amounts that they might feel more comfortable with at this time. But again, it goes with the message of there's still ways that you can bring in revenue to your organization, and this is a great way to do it for folks.
It's a good way to balance out your event too. You might have only one person win a silent auction item and maybe be able to double down and get the second person. With a raffle, you're guaranteed to at least have everyone pay you a little bit for that. So something to always keep in mind. Jumping forward here, this is kind of a cool thing that we saw, Steve. This is an instant buy package that included shipping. Can you tell us a little bit about what NRV Cares did here?
Yeah, so they had an option that if you were gonna buy one of these items, they had all these things available for sale, that you could actually also tack on shipping to cover your costs. Since we're not going to be together in a room and you won't be able to hand out the items, it's always important to remember to cover your costs. And so they had an item that would, they would ask you to add on the shipping. There's also ways that people can kind of build some of that into the buy now price potentially as well, and just label it as saying, hey, we added, we're selling this for $30, but there's also an extra $12 or $7 included for shipping. So it's important to remember, like, hey, we're going to have some extra costs here, and people will be willing to cover a lot of that. I actually saw another one from one of our school partners in California that was selling some lamps. They had some custom made lamps that they had that they were selling as well. So obviously the shipping on that would be important to cover too. But always remember to at least ask, right? I think that's the important thing here, is making it available, or asking for it at least gives you the opportunity to recoup some of the expenses you might have.
Absolutely. If you don't ask, you get nothing. But if you do ask and you get one, that's already more than what you got before. So right. It doesn't hurt. And we do also see organizations, and we highly recommend this, toggling on the option for the donor to cover credit card fees, right, Steve? That's a big piece of it too. Is if they want to give you $45 and a portion of that's going to go to fees, often they'll give a little bit extra there just to cover those fees, right?
Yeah, I think again, going back to what you're saying is asking doesn't hurt, right? So people willing to cover credit card fees, people willing to cover shipping fees. I think sometimes as a donor, right, you don't think about those things, especially if you're at an event, you just think, oh, well, I'm here, I'm taking this home. There obviously is nothing associated with that, but even when you're at an event, you don't pick up your item at the end of the night. That actually puts a little extra burden on the organizations, as you guys know, to get those things distributed. So, doesn't hurt to ask or put a note that says, if you can't come pick this up, we're going to charge you a little bit extra for shipping.
Yeah, that's just one way to kind of keep things under control. Laura, I'm going to toss this to you. I think this is a fun example of using all the tools that are available to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this idea. These two schools sold opportunities to have a birthday message on their marquee. Think of your little kid and their birthday message is on the marquee at their school. That would be very cool for them to do. And these are just two examples of using all the tools available to you. You don't have to have these extravagant auction items, and you don't need to be a school to execute things like this. But we just thought this was an interesting way to kind of sell something on your site and sell opportunities for, to keep things going during this time.
Yeah, especially with everything being virtual. Not as many people are, going to see it if it's driving by, but if it's on your website or something like that, that'd be kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly.
All right. I'm going to tag Patrick for this one. He got really excited about this. He's got some insights here about what St. Rose School is doing.
Absolutely. So similar to, what Stephen, you and Laura have been talking about up to this point, and kind of these examples that we're running through with people is there are things that you can't do physically that, you could do online, or vice versa. And so, all these examples, what we're trying to do is just showcase what other entities have done in the hopes that it can inspire other people. And when I saw this, it made me think of a quote that I've always been a fan of from John F. Kennedy, which is, when written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. One represents danger and the other opportunity. And to me, this, as with all of these examples here, it was just an awesome way of embracing the opportunity where this organization was set to have their physical event, have this kind of tropical theme, what happens. And then instead of just kind of sitting on it, they went and auctioned off the decorations from their event. And I know my 3- and 6-year-old nieces would love things like this. And I think it's, similar to the marquee or whatever it might be, is using all the tools at your disposal and being a little bit of creativity into it. And, as we can see, people were engaged in bidding and things. And I think it was just an awesome thing where I had never in a million years thought of it. But decorations that you've already paid for, even if you actually ran your event or something like that, looking in the closet, everybody does spring cleaning, on a personal level, but from a fundraising perspective, kind of taking that approach and seeing what you have and finding ways to monetize it. This is one of many examples as we're running through here, but one that when I saw it, it definitely got me excited to see some of the creative things people are doing.
Yeah, especially because it's a unique theme, and they had bought all this stuff in advance. Plus, we have seen people do the centerpieces, but now it's really the whole gamut of all the different things in use. Keeping moving forward. So, Laura, can you run a 5K virtually?
Absolutely. I prefer it, in fact. Definitely the Florida Panthers Foundation found a really cool way, to do this virtual event with a 5K. They did not break any social distancing rules. In the chat, we should put the link so you can kind of see the full campaign that they're doing. But basically, it's just a donation, and then you have a couple days to run a 5K. You could walk a 5K. People put in their times, just reported back, and it just is a cool way to kind of get people moving, and get, again, following social distancing rules, but they just keep track of their own times, and you could do a competition. It's just another cool way to continue. Let's say if you had a real 5K, you can still do it virtually. That's no problem.
Yeah, I mean, they were still able to get people active, and that's part of the goal, right, of doing a 5K or
Absolutely.
any kind of run. And if they have a treadmill, they can do it on their treadmill or the neighborhood. I mean, there's ways to pull that off, or even in the backyard, run back and forth. I mean, I've done it. I was a lot younger, but I did it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. And I believe we are going to drop the link for people to go in and follow and see how this was set up. It was a really unique thing the Florida Panthers Foundation did to support Baptist Health in South Florida.
Yeah, love that.
And we've got some, what we have here, creativity knows no bounds. Laura, I think we're going to give this one to you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a lot of items that people don't know about. Even a mystery box. You could do your own mystery box if you're a school or something that, you've got t-shirts or sweatshirts or something. You could reach out to Amazon. They do a cool mystery box with their returns. Just kind of thinking outside the box of things, exciting things that you could sell on your site that people sitting at home in quarantine would be so excited to see what's going to be in this mystery box. It just kind of thinking outside the box, so to speak, is definitely this is a great example of that.
And obviously it doesn't have to be Amazon. This was one example
yeah.
where they had these returns, but the intrigue of a mystery box, I think, is one of the big pieces there, where it's like, Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This could be a DVD, which no one has a DVD player anymore, do they? Or it could be something else. You know, it could be a really expensive piece of glassware. It could be really a lot of different things that, you know, the donor just get little excitement out of that and have some competition for fun.
Definitely.
We're looking at donations with a twist here, Laura. So tell us about this 500 Bases of Love. This is kind of an interesting one we came across.
Yeah, definitely. This is the Richmond Flying Squirrels, which is a minor league baseball team. And they did something really cool. They have a mascot named Parney, I think. Anyway, but what they're doing is they're doing donations. And the twist here is every $11 donation, they're going into their 11th season. It enters you into a drawing to be a minor league player. And what basically happens is Parney's going to start at 6:35 a.m. on April 16th, and he's just going to start walking the bases. And, you know, you can donate as much as you want, but it just is kind of a way to get people involved with the organization and the mascot. If you're a school, you could do something with your principal, a teacher, just kind of, you know, and obviously the grand prizes don't need to be, you know, be a minor league player for a day, but it could be something fun, you know, just to incorporate the mascot or members of the team or, you know, like I said, a principal or somebody that people would be excited to see and excited to have that challenge.
I think just to add on that, I think the cool thing here is regardless of, you know, it's a minor league baseball team or look at the Florida Panthers, regardless of what kind of organization you are, no one's really getting anything here, right? It's participating as a crowd to see something done, which is pretty cool, right? So there's a lot of creative ways that you can think of things that might be done. You know, I mean, I'm sure a bunch of us like me have kids home from school, and I'm sure if we asked their principal to do something fun and take a video of it, they probably would be willing to do it if we raised enough money for the PTA or the school or whatever organization, you know, you might be a part of. So there's a lot of things you can do that no one needs to get anything for, right? It's just about participating and being part of the greater community contributing to this, which I think is really cool.
Absolutely.
For sure. And there's such a range in what we've got here, these fundraising components. I mean, we have organizations that are raising, you know, 20, 30,000 on this, or several 100,000. And we've got an example here of an organization that really surpassed their goal, but also had a really great way to display it. Steve, I know we got excited about seeing how they were able to talk about how they were doing and how they finished as well.
Yeah, so I know there's some questions coming in about, hey, these are nice small ideas, and what can you do for bigger things, right? This is a bigger one. You have an organization that put their goal out there, said, here's what we're trying to do. You know, the email I referenced earlier in the call, you know, they mentioned that they would raise $250,000 at their event that they were going to have, and they weren't shy about letting you know what their goal was. And so I think this is a great example of saying, hey, just because we're not all getting together in one place doesn't mean we don't, you know, we don't depend on your donations and don't encourage you to donate, or, you know, we're still continuing to donate. So, you know, I think just asking for that support that you would normally get, you know, goes a long way. I know we've kind of been joking about it internally. Like if you watched any of the thing from this weekend with the Chicago Bulls where the owner said, oh, I prefer not to get invited to weddings. I might give a better gift if I don't. You know, maybe that happens here. You know, people are at home, you know, as much as they'd love to get together and come to the event, you know, they are saving a little bit of money by not having to get a babysitter, all these other things. And if you ask them, you know, they might be willing to give you more than they normally would have in some of these situations. Again, if they know what you're trying to do and what you're trying to accomplish, right? Everyone that's a part of this group, they understand where it's going and what it's needed for. So I think part of this is, you know, as you do this, is to make sure that the message that you're putting out there at this time is compelling too, right? And letting people know, like, what kind of impact, you know, obviously everyone knows the impact that everything going on is having on them personally, but what's the impact it's having on your organization? Tell that story like these folks did on the left side here, and put out what they're trying to get, and you can see, like, this is a real site, and they achieved their goal and beat it just by asking and letting people know what they were looking to do.
Right. And we've got one more fundraising component we want to talk about. And Laura, what's going on here?
Yeah, so this is just another example of a way to kind of put that sponsorship information right on the homepage. You'll see that this is something that's within that homepage donate now. And one thing I want to point out, I know a lot of our bigger fundraisers have, selling big tickets, big ticket sales for their events. And doing something virtual or doing something online, you can still sell sponsorships and still sell, different ways to kind of create that money. And that's that income. And this is just kind of a great way to put this right on the homepage of ways people can donate and exactly what they get, exactly what they will receive with that donation. Quick, easy, spreadsheet here to show, keep them, they're able to see what they'll get with that donation. So even if you're not selling tickets, you can still sell kind of quote unquote sponsorships with different things attached to them.
And what's cool is a lot of these elements can be combined into your virtual fundraiser, virtual event, or it can be used in different pieces of the year even. We use these as examples of little pieces of a bigger fundraiser most often. And what's really cool about these things is there's also, different ways to communicate and engage your donors around them. So we're going to jump into communication and engagement and talk about some of the examples we've got here. So I'm going to start out here with Steve and talking about your money story. And we've touched on this a little bit, but if you can dive in here and kind of tell us what Christian Brothers High School is doing. Do we lose Steve there?
I'll be him, sir. I'll be a surrogate Steve for the moment.
Right.
I think.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I think the thing kind of is we built on is telling people what the money goes towards, and I think the story that Steve gave at the onset is a great example. And being able to say, hey, your contribution of A is going to let us do X. And the other thing, if there is any sort of challenge, match, anything like that, making sure you convey it, because hey, if my $10 donation is going to be doubled, okay, like that's good information I think to relay over. But then as well is kind of the screenshot on the left was from Twitter, the other one is on the right was from Facebook, is you never know exactly where you're going to find a supporter or one of your constituents. So making sure that across all the mediums that you have available to you, you're including your fundraising link, or reminding people of where to find you. We see it all the time when looking at the kind of analytics and data is, people are always surprised as to how people get to their fundraising page. And because you never know, you want to make sure that, your theme is consistent, your message is consistent, and that you have it in as many places. And this is just, one of a few examples where they did it well. And I think really trying to bring it home from that communication and engagement of, make it simple and make it, impactful. And I think these groups just did a great job.
Yeah, and then just to build on that, I mean, I don't know if we're going to get into more of the social stuff, Brandon, or not, but these are two good examples here of social. Thinking about what people are doing while they're home. We've looked at some numbers just from a business side of marketing things, and people are seeing great success on, people were seeing good success on social media, but even more success right now on social media because people are home spending more time on it than they were normally. And so don't be afraid to, try out a Facebook ask or a Twitter ask or these things where you are including these fundraising links, because there are more eyeballs in those, on those than there are normally these days.
And there's simple nuances that they're doing here that do stand out. Putting on my marketing hat, which I really never take off. Beginning of the first post here, we have an exclamation point. That's going to stand out because it's different. It's not just someone writing a paragraph. And at the end of the other one, they're using the heart emojis. Small things, just so when people are scrolling, because we all scroll fast through our social media, that may catch their eye. Images, videos, very important. As we all know, video is the new way of really connecting with donors, but filming a quick video and putting it on social, that human element and bringing it back to, look, we do need this and this is why. It's a great way to use social media, especially with everyone home, like Steve said. So we're looking at another story here, and Laura, this is a really clean and appealing page, but tell us a little bit about what's working for them here.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely having a clean, appealing homepage, gets people easy navigation, and they're able to kind of show exactly what their mission is. And one thing is that they are doing well is utilizing recurring giving. That is a fantastic feature, where if somebody wants to donate, say, $25 a month, they can set that up right here on that homepage. And then you can also, utilize displays there, and just kind of putting all of the, all of the fields that you could use on that homepage, just make it nice and clean so people can see exactly what your mission is, exactly what you're trying to do, and make it easy for them to donate, especially if they want to donate, monthly. It makes it really easy just to donate right there on the homepage. And you definitely, you want to capture as many dollars as possible. So yeah, recurring giving is a fantastic way to do that.
And we just had a webinar Tuesday on recurring giving. We can drop the link over to you. You can go to our resources page. It is definitely one of the ways, with everything going on, to kind of bridge that gap. And we're happy to discuss that further with anyone who has questions on that, as it has been very popular lately. Jumping into the next one here, Patrick, talk to us about text messaging and what's going on in this slide.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my favorite things over the past few years of running a bunch of events throughout the country is sending messages, because you got a room full of 500 people, 1,000 people. We have some standard templates, but if you're trying to get people to, leave the open bar to start dinner, or, 30 minutes left in the auction, whatever it might be, creative messaging has been one of my favorite things. And you hit send and you look around and, you watch people's phone buzz and they start to giggle or something like that. Always just makes it fun. And so these were both from the same event, where I, similar, to Steve being in some of our campaigns, we get the messages, and the one on the left I saw and laughed, and it immediately hooked me, and I wanted to go learn more. And then the same group a week later sent the second one. And so I think, as we talk about communication, different things, and people are, my iPhone tells me my screen time is up at a rapid rate. And I think that's certainly not unique for anybody at this time. So, leveraging the SMS and doing it. And the best tip I can give anybody, which is what we train our new event staff when they come on, is you can send the message to yourself first. So if you're included in a link or something like that, want to see how it reads, always send it to yourself first. But I think, as we talk about all these examples, don't forget to keep it fun. I know it's a corny pun, but the first 3 letters of fundraising, right? So I thought this was just a great example. And we've seen some other ones where people are using that hook in the text messaging to drive people to their site, and something definitely I'd encourage anybody to do.
And I would say, just on this, I think this is one of the most when there's a live event going on, or you have set times for things, obviously the text messaging is something that gets, used, and I don't want to say taking for granted, but it's kind of table stakes at an event that you're doing mobile bidding or something, and you're getting text messages. I think that is a big opportunity for folks to leverage other aspects of the system, one being a text messaging engine, to where, people are getting emails all day right now about various things, whether it's, every single company emailing you what their current COVID plan is or whatnot. And text message stands out, and you have the ability to send a message to folks and get their attention, right? People are sitting at home, they're holding their phone, and probably will even complete the whole donation process through their phone. So don't be afraid to send a message once in a while, even if the message, here we're saying where there's ways to bid or give donations. Like it is also a way to just speak about your message even without asking for something at that time. You're just planting a seed for asking for a donation later. Just a good way to leverage the technology to stay in touch with your donors.
It's also a great way to say thank you, and then ask for that additional amount or a recurring gift. One of the techniques that we talked about on the recurring giving webinar was, ask for that gift on top of something that's already been given in a classy way, obviously, but that extra $5, $10, $25 a month that they may be willing to give you could be significant as it adds up. And that's a really great way to just say, hey, would you like to participate in this? And whatever you do, make sure there's some kind of branding to it. I'm actually surprised Patrick's the one who used the pun of fundraising. I thought I was going to be the one to do that. So first time for everything on that joke. I'm going to take this one here because we did talk about it recently on one of our success webinars. So I don't want to spend too much time, but it's so important and such a really unique way to plug your event or campaign or even raffle after a campaign. So Huntington Christian School before, during, and after their virtual event, they had this banner on their website, and they used a tool that is free. It's just a plugin for WordPress, and it links right out to their page, and it pops up whenever anyone visits. So it's a really easy click through for those of us in the marketing world. Click through actions that perform the best are the ones that smack people in the face, and this does exactly that. But one of the other things they did here on the right is they, after the campaign was over, raffled off some additional items, and that increased how much they raised because they were getting a little bit more afterwards, and they were able to communicate that not just through their website, but that was one of the ways they communicated it. And then we're going to jump here to Steve, looking at a live stream, which I know a lot of people are asking questions of live stream, and just what are some of the techniques they're using here?
Yeah, I think, again, going back to showing where things stand, they're using our display link to show the activity on the various items. And obviously you can see on the left there, how to register, or you can change it to say how to donate. So they've incorporated, this display link into their live stream, and can use this display link too as, if you wanted to show your donations or thermometer and your running total, as we talked about earlier, is letting people know what your goal is. There's actually a link in the system that just shows the donation amount and it building. So you can take that link from the system, embed that, whether it's in your site or, save that link into whatever you're promoting this, and people can see the total keep running up. So you don't have to be in a room with people to use the display links that are available. They're there to display to the world. It's just a different mechanism of doing it through your website or through your link. I would say my tip would be, if you use those links, they're probably really long and ugly. So you want to be able to condense that down and make it a button, or just make it like a shorter link.
Like a bit.ly or something like that.
In email, or sometimes you can hyperlink something to a word, whatever that is. I wouldn't use the whole long ugly link, but it will work and it'll show your donation. I think the bigger thing is, if you use one of our thermometer or displays to get donations, that's really helpful to show progress to goals.
Yeah, and even showing sponsors here, we did, had to block out the sponsor on the bottom left there, but they did have a nice clean banner there. Laura, can you talk to us a little bit here, because this is also a live stream, right? And we can share that in the chat, but talk to us about how live streaming is working and how some of the different features with chat on there kind of work out.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is a great example of that, because one of the questions we get a lot of is, how do we do live auction items if we're not all sitting in a room able to raise a paddle? And this example, these are all live auction items. And so during the live stream, kind of the MCs, the ones who are running it, they put this up and they were able to call out people. Hey, principal for a day is at 3,700. Who's going to bid that up? And you're still bidding on your phone as you would with silent auction items, but it's a great way to kind of highlight those higher end live auction items that you can't do technically live. But also, utilizing the chat in some of these live auction live stream platforms is super helpful. It makes people feel like they're involved. They are at an event, whoever's emceeing can call out some of those messages on the chat. So definitely, I know Facebook, YouTube, a lot of them do have the chat feature open, and that's just a great way to keep, your guests involved during the live stream, and just make them feel like it's an event and it's something cool that they're a part of.
So if I were the live auctioneer, I could be like, Steve, I know how you love kindergarten quilts. You can't miss this. Steve, come on, let's go bid on that. Just
exactly.
Like any other live auctioneer would, right?
Yep, exactly, exactly.
And I'm pretty sure Steve does love kindergarten quilts, so that's why he's that example, right? So
yeah,
we have another.
Someone asked me about it, I would, that's for sure. So I think incorporating that live auction aspect like I said, like we talked about, even if you're in the room or not, if I hear my name, then my ears perk up and I feel like I got to do something. So definitely
Exactly.
incorporate some of that engagement.
And live auctioneers are doing these all the time now. A lot of them have worked with us on doing some different, demos to show how it works. It really does still allow them to do what they're best at, which is engage the crowd. They're a lot better than I am. I was just trying to give a clever example, but we've got a couple more communication kind of engagement opportunities here. Steve, tell us a little bit about this home run in thing, and then I'm going to talk about Windsor Chamber because that kind of is an exciting thing I saw.
So this one jumped out at me because I obviously, the supporting local businesses initiatives are really big too in this time, and there's a lot of people probably willing to partner with your organization, to help you out one night a week or something like that as a dine out, right? So here, this school was able to partner with a local business, and they were going to have, the business was going to donate some back to the school for everything that got bought. So I think that there's opportunity there again to find partners that you can work with locally to help you promote your organization, and vice versa, you promote them as a sponsor. So just very cool opportunities. And this came out, this email was sent through the platform, and you can see they have the links there and how you can order. So, pretty cool way to find someone to help you out and cross promote.
For sure. And it's obviously, there's a lot of different ways to support your community. If you are looking for other examples, we have several others. Patrick and I have got a list of them, but the Windsor Chamber, Windsor, Connecticut did a unique auction that supported organizations that are currently affected by the COVID and the coronavirus shutdowns and unable to be fundraising. And they did a straight out auction with a few different things, but they invited all their local members, being a Chamber of Commerce, they had members, to participate and auction off something to support these organizations, gives recognition to all those different businesses. A lot of them were gift cards and things like that, where you can actually go support that business afterwards by having, that gift card, different ways to engage your community. We've seen several organizations do things like this. Just in being mindful of time, we're going to jump forward here. Patrick, really quick on this one, can you give us the 411?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's not lost on us as we talk about, hey, here's some things that people have done, that there's a good amount of folks who had to postpone their event, reschedule, whatever the case might be. And so, as you walk around any city, the signs of compassion isn't canceled and caring isn't canceled, I think is a good message. But this is an email that I got copied on, and it kind of stopped me dead in my tracks, where there was an organization who had their event that was scheduled in April, and then had to make the decision due to everything happening to postpone it until the fall. And so the gentleman, Jason was his name, sent the email and gave us consent to use it, and let me know that before they had sent this email, they had sold about 6 tickets to 10 different people in 30 days. And then he sends this email out, and they more than doubled it. And I think the thing that really resonated, and I think is a good message, is, it came across just empathy, and that, hey, we understand that times are tough for you. And similar to how organizations are struggling, so are the people that support it. And so by offering a discount code, it was kind of a win-win situation, which I think was just a good feel-good moment overall. And then on this one, I know we kind of put it in, is the subject line of this email was just because of you. And this was the only thing that was in it. And the organization had sent it out to their supporters. And I think it's, in a lot of ways, less is more. And so, as we talk about engagement and bringing people to you, making sure that at the end of it, in whatever way is authentic and unique to your organization, saying thank you. And this one, again, just, stopped us all dead in our tracks because it was so effective by its simplicity.
Did we lose Patrick there for a second?
I think so.
No, we're still good. That was too much of me at once.
We're going to jump into inspiration moments. We want to have time for your questions, so I apologize if we go too quickly. But real quick, I'm going to let Steve talk about just, real quick, what do we see here with La Costa Norte and how they were able to spread their mission?
Yeah, I mean, again, we see this all the time in the studies we do, that people want to know where the money goes. And so, just talking about what you're doing in this time to keep the mission going is important and resonates. So the examples Patrick just gave were great. Here's another one. They're using the platform to send emails to their donor base and keeping people posted. So kind of the same thing that goes through these again. How can you, whether your organization is directly impacted or your organization can be one to help others at this time. I think it's another good way to think about how to do things. The message here from the Girl Scouts of Southern California, they're gonna help deliver inventory to the people on the front lines, and so they're letting everyone know that if you make a donation, you're not directly helping the Girl Scouts, but you're going to help the Girl Scouts help someone else and help further their missions. I think that's just good opportunity. If you're directly impacted, obviously, you want to do what's best for you, but if you have the ability to help others, you can leverage your brand to help others as well.
That's awesome. And we've got just an example here, Laura, just tell us about this. This was from one of our previous webinars. You should have seen this, but this was a selfie scavenger hunt.
Yeah, and honestly, it's just another way to keep it fun and keep your viewers and your supporters engaged. This is a way that people were able to post selfies with different locations or different things and just tag the auction. It's just another great way to keep it fun and to keep everybody engaged in what you're trying to do.
Yep, for sure. This was definitely something that people had a lot of questions about, and we can share more on that. And Patrick, bring it home with just what we've got here of some different examples to find inspiration.
Yep, absolutely. So I know, one of the messages that we keep saying to whether it's in masses or as we're talking to customers and things like that, is you've got this. And it isn't just fluff, because the reason that I have 100% confidence that all of the fundraisers listening to this, whether it's live or after, is because we're seeing you do it in real time. And we've seen you do it. I've been in the sector for over 5 years now, and I've seen it from the very first day. You don't have to be big, you don't have to be small. And so, we can put the instructions, but if you go to Google and you hit news and then type 76278, which is our short code, or GiveSmart, you can see examples, similar to the ones that we've run through. Or if you do the same thing on Twitter, you can see it. And I would encourage, research is free. And using all the tools at your disposal, I know it's something we've said previously, but I would encourage everybody to be inspired from your peers. And I think as a community, people are doing amazing things, and more than anything, would encourage people to keep trying and see what works. And we're here to help the whole.
For sure. And I apologize, we had to, kind of go through those inspiration moments a little bit fast, but we are going to send this out afterwards with the recording, and feel free to drop questions in, because even if we don't get to them, we will answer them. But we're going to start questions here, and I'm going to throw this over to Laura. We have great filmmaking capabilities, and we'd love to use motivating film. How would it fit into a platform? What's your recommendation for using video?
Absolutely. You can embed videos straight onto your homepage. If you are doing a live stream, incorporate the videos, definitely. You work hard on them, and it just kind of shows a different thing rather than keeping the live stream on a single person talking. Definitely incorporate that within the live stream. But yeah, absolutely. You can embed those right on the homepage in a custom field, and definitely just showcase it right there on the homepage. Awesome.
So that's a nice way to kind of intro the fundraiser or the campaign. Any recommendations for live stream software, Steve, or probably Laura? You've probably seen some of these.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a bunch of them out there. People do YouTube, Facebook. We have a partner in our community brands family that does some live streaming that can be broadcast to all those places. So there's a lot of options out there. If you're working with one of our customer success managers, they can give those to you. And I think you have to think about what's the best fit for the capability you have today. But like I said, the ones that are out there, probably those same ones, Facebook, Instagram Live, YouTube. And like I said, there's one that we have within our community brands family that we can help integrate right into what you're trying to do. I think they all take a little bit of, I mean, and Laura, I don't know if you've worked with any of them. I think they all take a little bit of, there's a little bit of a learning curve. I don't think it's necessarily too difficult,
Right.
but they all work a little bit differently. You have to have a little bit of technology learning, but I don't think it's overly complex.
It's not, absolutely. And you can always test it before you go live.
Right. And Patrick, we have a couple examples coming up, don't we, that they gave permission that we could share them out if people wanted to see how they were doing that, right?
Yeah, we do. And we can, I'll make sure we put it in the chat real quick as well as in the follow-ups. So obviously one of the reasons we wanted to do a little bit different of a success webinar is we know that this week and this weekend in particular, it's obviously different than it would have been, but no less important, was the busiest fundraising week in the nonprofit, space. And so we have an example each Friday, Saturday, and Sunday of different campaigns of different varieties that we will send out that our customers have graciously let us share in the hopes that it does provide inspiration. So 100% we will make sure that everybody has that.
Awesome. Yeah, there's so many different things going on out there. We're happy to share examples of different things people are doing. Obviously, we went through plenty of them. Another question here. Hometown here in Illinois, Steve, looks like the governor has extended the stay-at-home order, so we have some nice travel and vacation packages for our live auction. Does it make sense to even auction those off? Considering people have kind of lost the hope of being able to travel, maybe even later this summer. What, any input there from any of you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think go ahead, Laura.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, definitely check out, the vendor that's giving it to you and see if the dates are flexible, and see if that's something that they can extend. If the expiration date's coming up, definitely don't be afraid to reach out to that vendor as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would say is I think it's just like with a lot of things, I think it's a local state by state kind of decision on what people's comfort level would be. I think that there's probably, if we're being realistic, are you going to get your maximum dollar for that right now? Probably not. So if it's something that you can hang on to, it might be worthwhile. Or you play off of people's desires to travel someday, as Laura mentioned, if those dates are flexible. So I don't have a great answer there, other than the community, the space better than
right.
we might. I mean, if I was in Illinois, I might say, hey, if I can get this, if I can sit on this for a while, great. Or if my dates are flexible, I might play off of the, when you're able to get back to normal, wouldn't it be great to go to the beach or go to this great house and celebrate things there?
Sure. I think we all would not object to going to the beach, right? Laura, are people trying to handle this on their own or hiring a virtual event producer? What are you hearing more often?
In terms of live streaming or doing like a virtual
event?
I
think that's what the question's around, is the live streaming.
Sure. Yeah, no, like I mentioned before, doing, Facebook, YouTube, Zoom, a Zoom live event. It does take a small learning curve, but most of these, everyone I've worked with has been able to do it. Also, customer success managers like myself, we are definitely working with this day in and day out. So don't be afraid to ask us if you're working with somebody how to, kind of get started on that, because it's brand new territory for a lot of people, but it's not, it's not expert level. It's definitely something that, everyday people can figure out.
And the one thing I would add to that is we've seen organizations do this. I had an organization ask me to do it, and I was more than happy to, is in your donor base, who do you have that maybe instead of a donation, they could donate their time? And whether it is live streaming or marketing or different things, being able to engage your supporters maybe in a different way than you have historically is something I would encourage very highly, because everybody's expert at what they are good at. And so if you do have any kind of connections within your supporter base or things like that, where you can leverage somebody's, professional skills, whether it is live streaming or any of those kind of areas that we talked about or you're looking into, is definitely something that I would very much encourage.
Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely helpful, and thinking outside the box there as well as what's in your ecosystem. We've got a question here. Do you still charge a ticket price or registration price, or is it better to do the online auction for free for participants? Laura, what have you seen as kind of the trend? Is there any advice you can give there?
Yeah, definitely. You can still do a ticket if you wanted to do the ticketing price. However, you can't really block people from bidding if they're registered for your event, but definitely you can promote the sales of tickets. Maybe include different options for them. If they, if they are buying a ticket, they get a raffle, or a higher level ticket, they get a free entry, raffle entry, or, kind of some of those different incentives to purchase a ticket. But yeah, definitely, I think you can still sell tickets along. Just if you're holding an event, even a virtual event, definitely sell tickets. Absolutely.
And I would say,
And then
again, that's a decision that you'll make and see what resonates with your donors. But I think the important thing is if you do that, is to explain where the ticket, why are we selling tickets, or what are we trying to raise, or what are we trying to do, right? I think people are very understanding of sort of the replacement on that, and you're banking on some of the revenue from ticket sales to get to a certain dollar amount. So I think I think if you're going to do that, it's good to be honest about what your goal is with that, or if you're not, just to remind people that, hey, we didn't charge any tickets and you didn't have to pay $200 to come, so that means you have an extra, some extra money to give us when we ask you for a donation later. So either way you do it, I think the good thing to do is just let people know what the goal is and what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and I believe, Patrick, you wanted to add on something there?
Yeah, there is, because I think Laura triggered a thought that was a cool thing I've seen. So obviously, people are you want to get everybody to your fundraising campaign to bid, to donate, and things like that. But we had a group that what they did is they had some entertainment, like a live band that they were going to have perform. And so what they did is they sold tickets, and then sold tickets at a normal, I think it was $50, something like that. And then they what they did is the ticket got you access to an exclusive Zoom concert. So everybody could bid and donate and everything like that, which I highly encourage. But if you paid the admission price through Zoom and in other settings, I use Zoom for work every day, so I know it a little bit better, is you have a meeting code. And so they emailed each ticket purchaser the code, and we're able to have that kind of more exclusive kind of tight knit where, hey, this is what your ticket purchase is going to give you. So, if you're looking for something to maybe generate some revenue in that regards, is okay, can you have any sort of thing where you're doing something virtually for your ticket purchasers, but also not excluding anybody who might want to contribute in other ways financially to the organization?
Sure. No, we've seen a lot of unique uses of entertainment in that. I'm going to let us wrap there, as we went a little bit longer than normal, but appreciate everyone's time. We are going to share this recording afterwards, so if you want to revisit everything, if we didn't get to your questions, we will follow up afterwards. And there is a survey at the end. We'd love to know how we did. If I wasn't entertaining or I wasn't funny, you can let me know. But we enjoyed this. And Laura, Steve, and Patrick, thanks again for sharing your insights, sharing your knowledge, and hopefully everyone has at least one tidbit to take with them.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, and we got more webinars coming. We will notify you, but as you can see here, next Thursday, another episode 6, and then we are doing our May webinar on communicating with donors today. Thanks, everyone, and have a great day.